Good morning, everybody. It's Positive Tuesday today, April 1st, 2025. For Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. With 20 years of experience, this locally owned and operated business provides quality work both on the inside and on the outside of your home or business. Like Fitzy and I, they believe it's the little things that make a big difference. Give them a call today, see what they can do for you. The number's right there on the screen, 715-520-2271. As you can see, Fitzy was unable to be on the show this morning. He said why last week, but I can't remember why. Nope, busting bad guys are doing something, I don't remember. So filling in and joining us is our very good friend, Spooner Health CEO, Mike Schafer. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, December was the last time that you were on, and good morning, Dirk. He has a weather forecast. And Dirk, I noticed this morning when you sent the weather forecast, it's a little bit different of a graphic. It even says like DrydenWire on the top of it now. I know. Yeah.
Can't wait to see that. Yeah.
Good morning, Carol. So we have a lot to get to today. I want to talk about some of the since you were on last, you had received, Mike Schafer, Spooner Health CEO, receives 2 major awards. I want to talk about that. The Spooner Health receives 2024 Press Ganey Human Experience Pinnacle of Excellence Award. Also want to talk about the scholarship that you do every year and the importance of that. So we'll talk about, and I also want to get into like current healthcare legislation. Like not all of us pay attention to what's going on in the healthcare world because we're not in healthcare, but there's a lot of legislation out there. I kind of want to get your thoughts. We'll do our election predictions. Obviously, it's election day today. Whole bunch to get to, but first we always start with sports. What's going on in sports? What are you watching nowadays?
Well, we're couple weeks away from Stanley Cup playoffs. There's no better time in sports for me. The lead up to the Stanley Cup playoffs, of course, is the NCAA Frozen Four. I care a lot more about that than I do the basketball Final Four. So we'll have 3 more good college hockey games to watch. Then we got the NHL playoffs, which there is no, if you like hockey, there's no better playoffs in sports than watching these guys take their games to a whole nother level. 7-game series, have to win 4 of those 7-game series to win the Stanley Cup. And to me, there's nothing, I love watching them parade that Stanley Cup around the rink no matter who wins it. I had the opportunity back in 1992 to watch the Pittsburgh Penguins parade it around the ice in Bloomington when they beat the North Stars, and it's just great. So I love the NHL playoffs.
Minnesota North Stars. Those jerseys were legit. And good morning, Brian Melton.
Morning, Brian.
I love those jerseys. I had one of those when I was a kid, and I didn't even like hockey. But that was awesome.
I don't know if you follow the Wild at all, but their alternative jersey is the colors of the North Stars, and I really like that. I love
just a color scheme. Well, they can't do the N with the star, right?
No, it's the Wild logo
Okay.
on the sweater, but it's all the Wild the North Star colors. It's a great jersey.
If hockey fixes 2 things, I'll start watching it. The first one is you have to have a play that scores more than 1 point. You just do.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it, but you do. And second thing, fix your assists thing. That doesn't make any sense to me. Right? Like in basketball, if I pass the ball to somebody and then they shoot and score, I get an assist. In hockey, it's the person who passed it to me, and then I passed it to you, and then you score, then we both get assists, which is fine, but here's the problem with that. If I pass it to you, you pass it to me, and I score, I should also get the assist for that. I'm just saying.
I've always wondered about that. I don't disagree with that.
They need to fix that. I should get an assist
the assists
and
in hockey are often more important than the goals, more so than even in basketball. So.
Did you see, how did, I know you usually watch the shows. Obviously, you usually comment during the shows. Last week, so Fitzy was gone last week for St. Louis for Hockey for Jace. Do you know how that turned out? I think they won, didn't they, or not?
What I could tell, they won a couple of games and then were knocked out. It was nationals. I think there were 6 or 8 teams there, so it looks like they had a pretty good showing, but didn't come home with the national championship, if I read that correctly. So
yeah, I couldn't tell. I saw Holly put something up and they were proud. I'm like, but I don't get it. So did they win or?
Yeah, and that's some good hockey. I mean, where Jace plays at West Bend, we actually had a player who lived with us this year with the Express who went to West Bend partway through the season.
Really,
junior hockey is it's an interesting business. It's fun. That's the other thing this time of year. My wife and I always what they call billet junior players in town or host hockey players during the hockey season. So have them living in our basement and about 3 weeks ago, our team lost out of their playoffs and they left, and that's always kind of a sad time. And
Yeah, I
I think
suppose.
it's more sad for my wife because we're truly empty nesters, and she just has me at that point instead of
That's
all
why
the hockey.
that's why she wants to have host people, 'cause she doesn't
Yeah.
have to be with you the whole time.
And
You know what?
I agreed to it because she cooks really well when those players are there. So,
Well, there's guests in the house, of course. When she's not there, it's like
exactly.
mac and cheese and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Hey, at the end of the show, I want to ask you this because we have a lot to get to here. Alex Ovechkin, if he breaks the record for the most goals scored, where does he rank? Where does he rank in your greatest hockey players of all time? He's about to pass Wayne Gretzky on that. We'll get to that at the very end of the show.
Okay.
But first, we have a whole bunch to get to, and we'll do that in 15 seconds after a word from, wait for it, a Spooner Health.
Spooner Health, compassion is at the center of everything we do. It's rooted in who we are and why we're here. It unites us as providers, neighbors, and as a community. Learn more at spoonerhealth.com.
All right. So, by the way, good morning, Representative Gabe Magnifici. As always, he'll always be representative to me. So we had a headline story that came out recently. Actually, it was a press release from the Spooner Health, and it was Spooner Health receives 2024 Press Ganey Human Experience Pinnacle of Excellence Award. For people who didn't see that, what was that about, and why is that a big deal?
Well, that's a huge deal, to be honest with you. And I much prefer talking about this than any award you want to talk about that I won later. But we use Press Ganey to measure our employee engagement, employee satisfaction every year. Press Ganey is used by about 4,000 healthcare organizations to measure their employee engagement. We have 15 years ago, we kicked off what we call our commitment to excellence, where we really put a focus on our employee satisfaction and engagement because we truly believe that's what drives good, high quality patient care. And if you look at any business where you go in where employees aren't happy, employees aren't engaged, how does that affect your experience as a customer?
Significantly.
So as a patient, people come to us at often the worst times of their lives. They're sick, they're dying, they're injured, whatever. And we just felt that we needed to change things here quite some time ago to say, our way to provide that better patient care is to make service excellence and employee engagement the forefront of everything we do. So we started our journey back then, and it's paid off. I mean, it has really paid off. We did not do this to chase awards like this. We did this because we wanted to be the place that our employees felt great about bringing their families to, and that we were a great hospital. And we succeeded. The Pinnacle of Excellence recognizes actually your employee engagement over a couple of year span. We have won their Guardian of Excellence in the past and won that again, which is an annual. But the last 3 years, our employee engagement out of those 4,000 plus organizations was at the 98th percentile 3 years ago and the 99th percentile the last 2 years, which is as high as it gets. So the Pinnacle Award is a recognition of that we were one of 9 hospitals in the nation that were given the Pinnacle Award, or 9 healthcare organizations, the Pinnacle Award for Service Excellence. So to me, what we've accomplished is, we've become an employer of choice. People come to work here because they hear about our culture and they want to work within this culture. That allows us to provide great patient care. And that's why I'm so proud of it. This isn't an award for a person. This is an award for the 150 plus people who work at Spooner Health,
Wow.
working together, doing everything we can to put the patient in the forefront.
You said only 9 people were given that. So you must have to hit like a certain score, right? They just don't probably say, okay, we're only picking 9 this year. You must have to, so that you could have 20, for example, right?
Yep. They choose nine each year is what they choose.
Okay,
they
choose 9 each year. And out of how many? You said nationwide, but out of what? 150?
Over 4,000 organizations use Press Ganey for their employee satisfaction. They are the premier, we use them for patient satisfaction as well. They're the premier survey company for healthcare.
So that was the next question: is how do they evaluate that? Surveys. So someone's finished, they're leaving and say, hey, by the way, fill out the survey and get 20% off your next visit.
No. This one is actually just employees are surveyed on this one. So
sure.
Each of our employees gets a confidential survey. We do not see who they are, whatever. but we get this survey. They send it in. We get a report back on how they're doing. We can get a report back by department, so we can see which departments need to be, what areas their employees think we need to work on a little more. When we first did this survey 15 years ago, we were at the 12th percentile.
Wait, how many years ago?
15 years we've been doing this now. But think about 12th
12th
percentile.
percentile.
First percentile being the worst.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. It's been hard work to get us there. So when we first got those surveys, we had a lot to work on, and it was picking out from our own employees saying this is what we need to improve. This process gives our employees a great voice into what we do, and I think that's why we're successful. We've put in place a process where employees feel listened to. I'm not an early bird. I get to work around 8:15, 8:30. I was in at 7 o'clock this morning rounding on one of our nursing floors, which we do because we want to hear what our employees have to say and listen to our employees. So that's been a big part of getting us to where we're at.
The other one was about the, what, I don't want to say customers. I'm not sure, your patients when they come in. Talk a little bit more about that one. That is the one that is that the annual? That's the annual one, right?
No, that also dealt with our employee engagement as well. The Prescani Guardian of Excellence.
All right.
Same type of thing.
And what would you attribute this all to? And I know you're going to say, well, it's because of the team and it's our culture. But that's kind of an easy answer. Is there anything else? I mean, what would you attribute this to? Is it just that we took it seriously and we were focused on it? Because, when you pay attention to something, that means you're going to put your energy into it. So what was the reason for that? And what were some of those big changes going from the 12th percentile 15 years ago to the 99th percentile now? How did that happen?
Well, we recognized that we weren't providing the type of care we needed to our patients. That was a recognition. We had already started working with an outside consulting group when we did this first survey. The survey, quite honestly, was a kick in the gut. And it's like I tell our employees when I'm orienting new employees, we talk about the history. I'd been the CEO here for over 15 years before we got to that survey where we were at the 12th percentile. We worked with a company at that point called the Studer Group, whose mission was to make hospitals better. And quite honestly, I, as well as our other senior leadership in this organization, all who are still with me to this day that started this 15 years ago, we all had to change the way we operate and the way we work. That's hard.
I was going to say that's not easy.
Yep. And it took a team approach. And we had a lot of we still have a number of managers who were here from the beginning. And it's interesting when you talk about the way things were before, and some of the things you just shake your head that as a CEO I allowed or that we had going on here. But it was a concerted effort to say our patients and our employees deserve better. And I don't want to make this about me. I hate when you ask questions like that, but I had to stand in front of groups of employees rolling out the survey results because we were very transparent with how we do both on our patient satisfaction, our employee surveys, and basically say, this has happened under my leadership. This isn't acceptable. I'm going to change. We're all going to need to change.
Good for you. That's hard to do. That's hard to do. We never want to admit that we're our shortcomings. That, I have to be better, and that's on me. That's, like, no kidding. It's easy for people to say that, but when you're in that position, I don't think they realize or appreciate how difficult of a decision that is because a lot of people, maybe even most people, would never do that. But you've been the Spooner Health CEO for how long now? Over 30 years.
35 years in July.
35 years. I want to go on to other stuff here, but 15 years ago is when you kind of started this. So for those first 20 years, did that just not exist, or did you just not think of it?
I managed old-fashioned style. I like to say I managed the way my dad parented.
Understood.
Why? Because I'm the CEO, I'm the boss, whatever. But there were some changes in healthcare, different organizations doing different things. So it's not like we had an aha moment where we came up with this new way to treat people. We started partnering with a company that really kind of gave us a direction as to how we try to make these changes. And one step at a time, start by rounding on employees and really listening. One of the things now we really try to do is explain the why. The why isn't good enough because I said so. I'm the CEO. I'm the dad. I said so. That doesn't work in parenting anymore, as you well know now.
Yeah, no, but that was my dad too, right? It's yeah.
Is really looking at how we do things differently, involving the employees, giving more of a voice to the employees, hear what they have to say. I was really under the thanks, Dirk. I was really under the old way of doing things, and that was old management. And now even more so when we look at generational diversity, and the younger generations that move on quick and leave employers a lot quicker, and they expect that you're going to be explaining why you're doing things and involving them in decision making. It was so simple. I had one manager we sent to a seminar by the Shooter Group, and he came back and he said, this is really kind of simple, kind of like that book, Everything I Ever Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. What we are doing here is not rocket science. It's just really getting everyone on the same page for employee engagement and our patient satisfaction.
I did not know that was a book, and I'm totally going to look into that now. Everything I learned in kindergarten. I've never heard of that. Is that an actual book, or is that just like an expression?
I believe it's an actual book. I've not read it, I'll be honest.
Well, I kind of want to at least look into it right now. And good morning to a few others that have joined us. All right, so this will be a very short topic because you're only talking about yourself. One of the headlines that we had, this was from February. Mike Schafer, Spooner Health CEO, receives 2 major awards. For people who didn't see that, what were those rewards?
I was honored to receive the WHA Distinguished Service Award, which is given 1 or 2 a year to CEO or healthcare executive throughout the state who has, I call it the Old Guys Award, who's been with the hospital a long time. It's based on what you've done in your community, what you've done at the state level. I've been very fortunate here to have a board that is very supportive of my getting involved at the state level with the Wisconsin Hospital Association. I've had the opportunity to be on the board multiple times. I'm on the board currently, and I chair their audit and investment committee. I was the chair of the association back in the early 2010s. So it's really to recognize someone who's done great things both at the community level and at the state level.
Have you won that before?
No, typically it's a once in your career type of deal. So I feel fortunate to have won it. But I have to joke, you've been in your job a long time when you win that award.
Life Achievement Award, essentially.
Kind of,
not really, but a little bit. What's the second award that you received?
I was nominated by the State Hospital Association to the American Hospital Association as a grassroots champion, which is really just recognizing a person in the state. They give one each year in about 30 some states. I don't know how they decide that for sure, but someone who has embraced the concept of working with legislatures, working with your Congress people, et cetera, to try to affect positive change for healthcare.
I know you don't like talking about that stuff, but are these like actual physical awards or ribbons or just a certificate? And if they're a physical award, where do you put those? Do you put those in your office? You put them in?
They're on my shelf right back there.
There you go.
Yep.
You know what? I would take those home, and I would put them in your house to remind your wife every single day. Let's see. I'm sure she doesn't go to your office. You need to make sure you remind her of that.
Yeah, and she'd look at him and could say, "I could care less. You're dusting them yourself." So
that does sound like her. Yeah,
but it's really and like I said, between the board of directors supporting my ability to do some of that, a senior leadership team here that supports it as well. I don't think a lot of people think about when you're in a role such as mine. So many things are dictated to us on what we do. We are one of those heavily regulated industries there is out there. And having the ability, we're fortunate in our area to have legislators who listen. And in the past, too, not just our current group, but they care about rural healthcare. They want to learn about it. They recognize they're not the experts. They're not the experts on rural healthcare. So they ask people like myself if we're willing to discuss with them and try to educate them on what's important in rural healthcare. Romaine Quinn has been just a great friend of rural healthcare. He was responsible for a bill last session that brought more money for training nurse practitioners, which is vital to supply of healthcare providers in rural areas. Less and less physicians are going to family practice. We need more of those nurse practitioners. So having people like that that we can talk to and rely on. I'll be in Madison next week at what we call advocacy days. 1,000 healthcare advocates will be at the Monona Terrace for a half-day presentation on the climate and healthcare. There'll be a panel discussion, 4 legislators, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans. Romaine Quinn's going to be on that, so looking forward to what he has to say.
Wow.
So yeah, it's I feel fortunate to be able to try to affect positive change and represent a rural area and bring the rural perspective to the hospital association and to our legislatures.
Well, and I think you can get in any job or career, if you run a business, you get a little myopic, and all you're doing is just kind of focus on your own. And maybe it's even parenting, just focus on your kids, which obviously you should. But to then kind of look at it and go, how can I actually help everybody else's kids and my neighbor's kids and other health organizations in the area and obviously in the entire state and potentially even nation. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to do that stuff, but it also starts with a willingness to want to, right? Because a lot of people just don't really want to. Like, what do I care? I'm just worried about my job.
Yeah, maybe it's the fact that my undergrad degree, my second major was political science. I've always liked the political process. I hate what it's become now with elections and that. Don't get me wrong.
Hey, we'll get into that in just a minute here. But before we go, go ahead.
But in able to do that, it's just as I've grown in doing more and more of that, I have found myself out in Washington, D.C., talking about positions that don't affect Spooner Health. And supporting things with our congressional delegation that are great for the industry, but may not support Spooner Health because we don't offer that service. Sure. At the state level, we're still talking a lot about OB. We don't provide OB, but it's so necessary that OB services get fully funded at the state level. And I will advocate for that, even though it doesn't do anything for our bottom line or our future. It's great for Wisconsin. It's great for those hospitals that are still providing those services.
We had another article that was up since last time you were on. I think the deadline was yesterday, so it was about an opportunity. You do this every year, scholarships for students going into health-related field. Why do you guys continue to do that? What is the benefit? Do you guys see the immediate benefit of this?
I wouldn't say we ever see an immediate benefit. We occasionally have had students that we have given scholarships to that actually come back and work for us. But I think our reason for doing it, and these scholarships have been going on even before I was here. I mean, that's how long we've been supporting that through what was known as our auxiliary at that time, now is our partners group, our volunteer group, I'm sorry. One of the things very important to us is that we have to help cultivate the next generation of healthcare workers. To get people back into healthcare, there's a major shortage of healthcare workers. It's going to get worse. The WHA has referred to it as the silver tsunami, people that look like me retiring. And we're trying to get people interested in healthcare. So we've been doing these scholarships for a long time. We give up to 3 $2,000 scholarships to people that are going into healthcare. We occasionally give what we call a non-traditional scholarship too. So someone in the community going back to school can qualify for that. And we've given a few of those and ended up with a few of those actually coming to work for us after that. But we don't do it for that reason. It's really our way to support the future healthcare generations. Sure. But we're also learning we need to start younger. By the time people are seniors in high school, they've pretty well decided where they're going. We're working with the middle school now. In fact, this afternoon, I'll be spending time, I believe, with about 10 middle schoolers in their after-school program that are exploring health careers. So we're really trying to get to students when they're younger, get them interested. Then hopefully if they're interested, they apply for our scholarship. They get $2,000 that first year to use towards their schooling. And I haven't looked at this in a couple of years, but we've had over 80% of the people we've given those scholarships to have went into a healthcare field. That's what we want. I
would not expect it to be that high, to be honest.
Yep. And it looks like it's getting a little worse now than it was 10 years ago.
Sure, because people can change the scholarship, it goes to the college, but they can change their career path.
Exactly.
And we know that happens frequently. So I'm actually surprised that it was 80%. I would have guessed at best, if you can get 45%, that's actually, we're okay with that. But 80%, that's pretty incredible. And actually, I need to have my daughter, Riley, come and see you because she's a junior. She works at the library. here at the Spooner Library, but she's thinking about, her career, maybe education and possibly healthcare, but doesn't really know all the things that fall under the umbrella of healthcare. I'm like, I think there's like a ton of different things that fall under that. So I'll send her your way.
Love to talk to her. I'd love to talk to her. I just spent probably an hour with a high school senior this year as part of his career development, talking about healthcare administration and different things. So.
Nice. So let's get to some legislation. You had brought that up. What current healthcare related legislation is out there right now? What are you paying attention to? And maybe those are things that we should all be paying attention to, whether it's, if possible, just maybe at the state level, but maybe there are some things happening in the federal government that's impacting you as well. What are some of the legislation that is out there that we should be paying attention to?
Well, I guess right now we look at the budget more than anything, just like everybody else, because medical assistance funding, Medicaid funding is so huge. And of course, we hear a lot on the national news about Medicaid funding, Medicaid cuts.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about it. I mean, I hear everything and I see everything, but I don't know anything about it.
Nobody really knows anything.
Okay.
Let's be honest, there's talk about this generically. There's a couple specific things we've heard of. One is cutting back on the match that was given through the Affordable Care Act for states to expand Medicaid, which we didn't do, and we talked a lot about last time I was on, but that one wouldn't affect Wisconsin at all. That could be a major savings to the Medicaid program, but it would affect the states that did expand, and some who used it as intended, and some that quite honestly have used that money to do a lot of different things who wasn't first intended. And it's going to create some budget problems for them. So because we haven't expanded, if that happens, we sit in a better state for that. But there's a lot of talk about Medicaid cuts at the federal level. That's always concerning for someone. 10% of most rural hospitals' business comes from Medicaid. It creates a problem for the state legislature if that happens, but we don't know enough about it. I'm not going to lose sleep over it now, because who knows what's truly going to happen.
See, that's interesting what you just said, that there is a lot of information. Kind of what I'm hearing is most people don't really know everything that's really going on, so be careful about saying that you know what's going on. You don't. And the second part was is it essentially saying, let's just be patient and let's see how this plays out. But we don't need to freak out about it right now.
Yeah,
and a lot of things could change.
There's a lot of freaking out going now, and I just
what? No, there isn't. Yeah, it's almost like it's an election cycle or something.
Yeah, and quite honestly, the Medicaid is a big part of the state budget. So when you look at that, just kind of wondering what's going to happen there. There's a couple other bills at the state level that are interesting we're following. One is a guardianship bill. I don't know if I talked about this last time I'm on, but the state of Wisconsin has some really difficult process to get guardianships on people who can't make their own decisions if they haven't done healthcare decision making or done that in the past. And what will happen from time to time, we may end up with a patient in the hospital, and this happens a lot more at the bigger hospitals, happens us sometimes, who needs a different level of care. They don't need a hospital, they can go to a nursing home, whatever, but they can't make their own decision. There's no guardianship. So we have to go to the court system to get that guardianship approved. That can take weeks, if not sometimes longer, where that patient is taking a hospital bed that you could be using for someone else. It became really apparent during COVID when there was the not enough beds. This is a bipartisan supported bill that's had a hard time getting out of the state Senate. Romaine Quinn has been very supportive of it. Chance Green has been supportive of it as the Assembly, as is Dave Armstrong.
Well, we just named 3 Republicans. Now, they happen to be in our area. That's why you know, because they're in our area. But is this a partisan thing? I mean, everything's a partisan thing, right? Is it a partisan thing, or is it actually?
I think Romaine talked about the rule of 17 when he's on last week, having had 17 Republican senators. Well, there is a Republican senator, I believe, from the northeastern part of the state, who I hope I'm not talking too much out of school, happens to be an attorney who thinks there needs to be more attorney involvement than what's looking. And he and a couple others have refused to sign on, so it's never got brought to the floor in the Senate. So partisan, it's not a partisan bill.
I see.
But this is the sign of a few people being able to hold up what would be very good legislation and it would put us on an even keel with most states. I mean, this isn't groundbreaking legislation. It's what's done in other states to deal with this problem.
I asked Fitzy last week if he had a candidate speaking of elections, if he found a candidate in the assembly or somebody that oversees that can decide a lot of the things that law enforcement does, assembly, senate, maybe even governor, etc., whatever, and 99 of the 100 boxes are checked. Like, this is my guy, this is perfect. And my guy, it could be female, male, doesn't matter. But, my guy. Everything about him, 99% of everything I love about him except one thing, and that is they advocate for defunding the police. And if you elect me, I'm going to do everything I can to introduce bills to defund the police. What version of that is for you? I don't think there is like a defund healthcare movement or anything. I don't know if that's really a thing. But if you had a candidate that you saw, maybe it was like a Romaine or a Chance, that everything about him I really liked except, boy, that one thing where they stand on healthcare. What would that one thing be, and would you be able to vote for that person?
My short answer to the last part, would I be? What depends. I'm not sure what that one thing would be.
Yeah, me either.
One thing that I have found in my career, Ben, is I occasionally get conflicted between my personal beliefs and how I vote personally, as far as a candidate and how they support what I do and the job I have, because the job I have affects so many people. It just doesn't affect me; it affects our patients. If there was someone who truly wanted to gut the healthcare system reimbursement, I would have a hard time voting for him. I don't think I could, even if it went with my personal beliefs. If you, I have some strong beliefs on what works and what's wrong with our system, and I better just leave it at that.
Okay, you talked about that last time you were on back in December, about some of those things.
Yeah.
So people can go back and listen to that.
Let's not go back and look. One thing I look at, is you have people talk about a single payer system, and this is not going to be popular with some of your viewers. I could never vote for someone who really pushes a single payer system, because
what's a single payer system?
It's government healthcare, whether it's run healthcare, government paid for healthcare. There's different ways you could do it, but our system is so screwed up right now because of the government. Plain and simple. Medicare underpays. Medicare doesn't pay hospitals' costs. Medicaid pays way under the cost of providing care. So insurance companies, private pay in that, pay more than they should have to. I don't know how you would ever get to a system where the government is the one setting your rates and doing things where they underpay now, where you would ever make that work. Now, when I say that, our system's broken now. How we ever got to a point where employers were the ones providing insurance for healthcare for people, that happened years and years ago. But that's one I would have a hard time supporting, because I've seen what government intervention in healthcare does, and it doesn't make it better.
All right. Well, since we started talking about politics, of course, the first question is about Elon Musk, because everything's about Elon Musk. I love it. It's so funny. What if Musk comes after critical access hospitals? There's a question from Dan. Thank you, Dan.
Yep. Then I couldn't vote. I couldn't vote for Musk. I can't vote for Musk, but everyone calls him President Musk, which I find kind of hilarious. Yeah. But I'd have a hard time supporting Republicans at the federal level, most definitely, because critical access hospitals, it's a designation of hospitals that was put back in the early 2000s, recognizing that the payment systems the government put in place, here we go, government again, for Medicare, don't work for rural hospitals. You have to be providing things like cardiac care and a lot of orthopedic surgery to make it work. That the critical access program is a safety net for rural healthcare and for rural people. And yeah, I couldn't support that if they went after that.
Okay. Election predictions. We did that last week, knowing Fitzy was going to be off. Election predictions. I think we ended up not even picking. I don't think, because who really knows? And plus, no kidding, it's all fog to me because I'm 100% biased on this. I've known Brad for years. I value character a lot before even politics. He's been a friend. I like Brad, so because of that, I don't feel like I can actually see how it's going to end up. So it's completely jaded. If I had to, I think I'd probably say Crawford is probably going to win. I don't know. It was an already liberal seat. It's a female. We have mostly females. Actually, only one male on the Supreme Court. We just got finished with that election in November, and I think Democrats are a little more fired up, even though it's not Democrats, but whatever. It totally is. I would probably say that, but I think what we did last week is we said, how about over under 20,000 deciding votes? So let's start with that one. Over or under 20,000 people is going to decide
Under.
the election. What do you think?
Under.
I said under too. Hopefully we get. Should have been a steak dinner on this one.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think Crawford will win under. But can we talk about how screwed up this Supreme Court elections in Wisconsin have become?
What are you talking
I mean,
about?
this is so ridiculous.
Okay, so there's a lot of parts to that. So which parts are you referring to?
I'm referring to a lot. The outside money. I mean, you look at the seat 2 years ago when Judge Janet won. The outside, the Soros, the Pritzker, that money. Now you have it again. You have Elon Musk, all the money he's bringing in on this side. How about having actual justices out campaigning for other justices? You're talking. I look at the U.S. Supreme Court, and you know everyone who's nominated for Supreme Court has their own bias. They have their own record you can look at, but they always sit in front of Congress and they say, "I can't comment on cases until they come before us." I mean, Judge Janet ran on abortion, commented on. You have the other justices campaigning, not just endorsing, but campaigning. And this isn't a knock on one side or the other. It's like it's become like running for the legislature, only a super legislative body. And to me, the process is so screwed up. The money, $100 million, going to be spent on an election.
And the last year was the most expensive. That was $57 million. We're going to nearly double that in just 1 year, and that's like in the history of the United States. That's ridiculous.
So I just the whole process on both sides, and Musk coming in to see Susan Crawford doing ads where Musk is trying to buy the election. I haven't seen Schimmel's ad saying that Soros and Pritzker are trying to buy the election, but you hear that.
It does seem one-sided, yeah.
This election has become about Musk. It's become about two national seats. Hakeem Jeffries is talking about congressional seats in Wisconsin needing to win an election. This is. We have to get back.
In all fairness, I think who was? I think it may have been Elon Musk. I think it was saying that just recently. I think it was just yesterday or the day before. Saying the same things that Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat in Congress, that this is going to decide a lot more. It's going to be the congressional seats, and it's going to shape this. And it's like, I thought it was just the Supreme Court judge race. Yeah. When it just stop being about that?
To me, the Supreme Court of Wisconsin is becoming a super legislative body. It doesn't matter what the legislature is going to do anymore because of that way. And there has to be a way to rein that in, whether
you're not wrong.
Conservatives in charge. Yeah. So, I mean, this election.
These are becoming almost more important than governor's races.
Yeah. I would agree 100% because it doesn't matter what the legislature passes, what the governor agrees to.
Or vetoes or anything. It doesn't matter. They're just going to go to.
There's a couple of things I'm very concerned about if this court stays liberal that are going to happen. One that greatly affects our work here, too.
What's that?
It has to do with medical malpractice caps. We have caps on medical malpractice in the state of Wisconsin. There's rumblings that the Supreme Court wants to get rid of them, which means the cap is on pain and suffering, not on any economic damages, not on future healthcare costs, whatever. But what it has done is Wisconsin is one of the 10 most favorable places for doctors to practice. Illinois is one of the 10 worst. We recruit in Wisconsin doctors. Southern Wisconsin recruits out of Illinois all the time. One of the main things is we're a little bit more malpractice friendly. But word is they're looking for a case to bring up the pike to go after those. And the interesting thing about that is the med malpractice caps were overturned once for being unconstitutional. So when they put the new caps in place, we had split legislature. One house was Republican, one Democrat, I believe, and a Democrat former Attorney General Governor Jim Doyle, who all signed off on this. So very well thought out, both sides of the aisle. It's going to be interesting. And I think there's other things in play that are going to be kind of scary too. But
I think that's ultimately the part that Fitzy and I'm assuming you as well, that we have a problem with all of this, is knowing, okay, if it's conservative or liberal, how it's going to end up. Like, that's the part that doesn't make any sense in my brain when it's just look at this, look at the Constitution, and it should be relatively a no-brainer. And I don't mind a 4-3 vote or a 5-2 vote, but I mind that almost every time 4 of them are liberal or conservative, But right now it's Liberal has 4, but it's always those 4 against the 3 that aren't. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Like 4 to 3 votes, fine, I get it. But it's always the one side. It's split right down the middle. The conservative leaning is always going to vote this way, and liberals are always going to vote this way. And I don't know which one's right or wrong. It doesn't matter. But like that's the problem. Like this is supposed to be pretty simple.
Well, and when the court was conservative in the past, the same thing. I think you were alluding to that. It might be 4-3. It's are we really interpreting the Constitution and case law in that, or are we bringing forth our ideologies? I
know, I get it. I mean, it's like interpreting the Bible. That's why we have so many different religions. Well, actually, we have different religions for a whole other thing, which is stupid. But that's a topic for another day. But yeah, you could read one verse or one chapter and try to understand like Paul and really know him and know who he was talking to in this passage and the whole thing. So I could see how you may, because some things aren't black and white in the Bible. Actually, a lot of things aren't, which is very, very frustrating. Like, that's the one place you wouldn't want a lot of ambiguity. And there it is in the Bible. Like, wait, but what does that mean this or does that mean? So I understand you have to interpret it a little bit differently, but we shouldn't be that drastically different. All right, so I think Crawford is going to win, and I think it's going to be less than 20,000 votes, but I have no idea. Is that where you are?
I agree, too. I think it's in this environment, it's hard for a conservative to win. It'll be interesting. Musk's involvement. I mean, the only chance that I think Schimmel has to win is if the Trump voters come out. And you look at, Trump got across and he won, but he couldn't bring enough votes to Hovde. So are there enough votes there? And then who knows how many people are going to vote because they're mad Elon Musk is involved and going the other way. So this is
true.
More unpredictable, but I think definitely the Liberal has the.
I think so too. I think so too. I'm rooting for. I mean, obviously, I would be rooting for Bad because I've known him, but I'm actually rooting for the conservative to win here because then it's a 4-3, and then next year there's another election, and that is for a conservative. So now we're basically doing if Crawford wins this election, Democrats are basically going to hold it for 3 years. I'm sorry. Liberals are going to hold the court for 3 years because the next 2 elections in 26 and 27 are both conservative seats, so they just have to hold their seats, but they cannot gain control of the majority. So I want to see a conservative win, so then next year we're doing this again, and we could break another record, and it's going to be another dumpster fire. That's what I'm rooting for. I always root for dumpster fires. So that's why you should vote for the conservative in this one.
And just wait. Someone is going to announce if that seat were won by Schimmel, someone will be announcing for that seat within the next.
No matter what, somebody is going to be announcing. But yeah, if oh my goodness, this is after today, it's not over.
I'm so it's like I'm glad that most of the TV we watch is either streamed or taped, so I can just go through all the ads.
All right, we're almost up against time. Let's go through these real quick. DPI, State Superintendent. Who do you have winning that one?
I think Underlay's going to win. I really enjoyed Kisner on your show. I've done a lot of looking into her. I mean, it's interesting how it's fun to see the conservatives get behind a not so liberal compared to a strong liberal on that one. But I think Kisner brings a lot to the plate. I just think it's hard to beat an incumbent in a race like that a lot of people don't pay much attention to.
Larry says, "Why are you not mentioning who's backing her?" I think this is referring to Crawford still. And I don't know what that means. Like the money part, or
I mentioned Soros and Pritzker.
Sorry, Larry. Let us know what you actually mean by that. So I think Underly is going to win because she's the incumbent. Incumbents typically win.
Yep.
But it's like that devil you know is better than the devil you don't. But that's the interesting thing. I would also like to see not Jill win. In this case, it would be Brittany. So I wouldn't say I'm like saying I would want her to win, but. Jill Underly, you've been doing it for a while, and you haven't really done anything. In fact, I think you've made it worse.
Yes.
So I think you need to change there and go. Now with the challenger, it's always a 50-50. They're going to say, well, this is what I'm going to do, but you don't know. So it's a 50-50, but I'll take a 50-50 right now over the what she has accomplished, quote unquote accomplished or done. Jill Underly's. Again, that is not a political statement at all. I'm just saying if anyone is in a leadership position and things are getting significantly worse, sorry, we need somebody else. That's just the way it is. But I still think she's going to win.
I agree that she's made it worse. I mean, when you lower your achievement score targets, just ridiculous. And that, it bothers me a little. You see WEOC supporting her. I mean, I get it. I get it, the Union Sporting Art, because the school choice side that Kinzer, but I just don't understand how you can just say she hasn't done a bad job. Our kids aren't performing as well as they should. We're going to lower the standards so our numbers artificially look better.
Wow.
Let's improve education before we just say we're doing better because our standards are lower.
100% agree.
And that's not a cut on educators anywhere. I hope everyone understands.
Oh gosh,
that.
no, I don't think anybody would take it that. Well, never mind. Of
It's
course,
just-
people are going to actually take it that way. Voter ID. I have a bet with. I think I have a steak dinner bet with Romaine Quinn on this one. I think I said 70%, or maybe it was 65. I can't remember. It was over under. I think it was over under 70%. It's going to pass. I said the under. He said the over. What are you taking?
I say the under. I think it's going to pass.
Me too.
It's common sense, and the reason we have to do this is kind of crazy, though, because you have to enshrine it in the Constitution because you're worried about an activist court. But I think you got a lot of these people that are going to be supporting Crawford that will not vote for that, even though it's a common sense thing to enshrine it in the Constitution, in my opinion. So
I also think that if you just look at the total numbers, I think there'll be a lot fewer voters for DPI because I think there are people who will vote for Crawford who they can't even get behind Jill Underly, and maybe even they're just not even. My point is they won't even vote. Like I can't really get behind Brittany, but I can't in good conscience vote for somebody who's pretty much under that person's watch. You owned it earlier when you're talking about Spooner Health. Like, hey, it's ultimately everything lands with me, the goods and the bads.
Well, and it's interesting that if they do, well, they don't vote or they vote for Kinzer. Kinzer she's moderate, but she admittedly votes for Democrats, whatever. So it's interesting. It's not like they're voting for a conservative when they vote for her.
All right.
You know?
Well, Larry, again, I don't know what we're talking about.
What?
Your question was, why are you not mentioning who's backing her? Who? Like it was George Soros? Are you talking about the money part? Like George Soros, the Illinois president? I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stories. We've done one from the Badger project we put on our page. Larry, I'm sorry. I just don't understand what you're actually asking. Like who's backing her? Democrats are. Democratic Party is. Rich people that live in the state and a lot of money coming from outside the state. I'm not sure. I'm not trying not to answer your question. I just don't actually understand what you're asking.
80% of her donors are from out state. You know, we mentioned Soros, Pitt, Pritzker, Hoffman.
I know.
Who fought the last election. Musk on one side. I mean, I don't think we're being partisan here. We're talking about both.
I know. I just don't know what you're saying. All right, so we have some weather coming up. Here's our official weather forecast from Dirk Miller, which is now our DrydenWire's forecast. That looks awesome.
Wow.
Thank you so much. I know. Today looks very nice. 38-43. Snow tonight. I've heard about that. 3 to 5 inches. So obviously it's tough for Dirk to do a weather forecast when he's covering like 6 counties. So 3 to 5 inches, but your experience may differ. Snow to rain tomorrow. So I may have to get some school closings or delays for tomorrow morning. I'll keep an eye on that. Looks like it's going to be nice. I think even said it's going to be even nicer this weekend. So it looks like we just have a little bit more snow coming. Not the end of the world. Let me ask you this. Would you rather have another week of snow or one more week before the election?
I take the snow. Give me a couple of feet of snow. I don't care. But I do wonder if we get 3 to 5 inches of snow, do we blame Dirk?
That's what we do. Yeah. But we also give him credit. When we have nice weather, we always say thank you. So, no, it's, yes. He's at the top. You get the credit and you get the blame, but it all lands on you, buddy.
I understand that. So
that's the way it's supposed to go.
Hey, graphic, that was good.
Yeah, that was really nice. Thank you, Dirk. By the way, this Friday, I'll be chatting with Marty Wronski, Wronski. She is this Friday at 8:30 in the morning. We're here on Facebook. She is the first female COO in Major League Baseball's history. Obviously, she's with the Brewers, so she will be on this Friday at 8:30. I'm not doing a Thursday show. What do you have coming up this week?
I don't know, but make sure you ask her about the torpedo bats when she's on there. The new controversy in the Major League Baseball that the Yankees bombed a ton of home runs against.
Yeah, so that's getting blown out of proportion. So, you're a hockey guy, I'm a baseball guy. We like all sports, but, that's where our passions are. And, it's interesting to see, like, Ella De La Cruz, a superstar shortstop for the Reds last night. He used it for the first time ever. He had a single, a double, and a home run. But if you also look at the Yankees, they have 2 other players that are using them, and they're doing terribly. And Aaron Judge isn't using one. He doesn't like them, so not everyone's actually using them.
You still have to hit the sweet spot. But I'm interested in her opinion.
Yeah. Oh, well, she's the CEO. I will ask her that. That's a very good question to ask. Yeah. And I don't know if I want to bring it up, though, because they just got swept by the Yankees and it got blown out by them.
No,
yeah.
I'm a Twins fan.
I like the Twins. That's my second favorite team. It's the Cubs and the
Twins. It's been a rough start to the season for them. So, I mean, they benched some of their players in the third inning yesterday. They were behind so far. So,
Alex Ovechkin. He may break the record this year, may not. I think he's like 5 or 6 away from, with only a few games left, to break the all-time scoring record that Wayne Gretzky holds.
4 to tie, 5 to win, with 7 or 8 games remaining.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for fact-checking that for me.
Yep.
So where does he rank? He gets this. Where does he rank in the greatest players that you've seen? We don't want to go back as far as, I don't know, like Mel Ott, or that's baseball. Bobby Orr or something. Like
I saw Bobby Orr. Bobby Orr is definitely one of the
Gosh, you are really old.
In fact, I'm reading Bobby Orr's autobiography right now.
Was it everything you need to know about life you can learn in kindergarten? Was that his?
No, it's a little deeper read than that.
For a hockey player, that's impressive.
Yeah, he's going to be the leading scorer in the league. There's only one greatest, and that's Gretzky.
Yep.
I think Ovechkin would be top 10. I don't think he's top 5.
Top 5 winger.
Winger probably, but he's been around. I mean, so long to get to this record. He's a great player, but when I think of others that have played the game, like a Bobby Orr, like a Paul Coffey, defenseman, who's to me one of the top 5 to ever play the game.
But yeah, you play it that long. It's like Jaromir Jagr. He's playing until like he's 50. I mean, you're going to have a lot of records.
So not to take away, I never thought Gretzky's goal record would ever be beaten. It's going to. Gretzky's assist record will never be beaten.
Never.
But probably around top 10, in my opinion. If I had to think about it more, he might even drop a little bit below that. So,
well, next time we come on, we're going to have it ready. We're going to do our top 10 list of all the players that you have seen, and not necessarily in person. We'll do our top 5, but only not. We won't do defensive men or goalies. We'll just do I don't know. They called something like the centers and the wingers, like the skaters or something,
forwards.
Or forwards. We'll do 3. We'll do 3 different lists for the next 3 times that you come on, because I'm sure you'll be on again.
Yeah,
that'll be fun. All right, man. What do you have coming up this week? You mentioned something earlier about today. You're going to talk to some kids or the school.
Oh yeah, this afternoon we have some of the middle schoolers through, and this will be my first time of giving the tour and meeting with them on that. But then over the course of the next few weeks, they go into our different departments and see, what a lab tech does, what an X-ray tech does, different things to really put them, introduce them to the field. We did this last, was it spring or fall? I'm sorry. It had very good response from the students, very attentive group. We weren't sure how it'd go for the first time, so looking forward to doing that in conjunction with our middle school again. So.
And then next week you're heading down to Madison.
Madison, like you said, we have our advocacy day. Unfortunately, our keynote speaker at Advocacy Day, and I say this tongue-in-cheek, is Matt LaFleur, talking about leadership, head coach of the Green Bay Packers.
I know that name.
Yeah,
that's
head coach of the Green Bay. I'm looking forward to it, but as a Viking fan, I have to joke about that. But we'll have, like I said, the legislative panel is always an interesting day because 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, both from the House and the Senate, talking about issues that affect healthcare. I will be getting to present an award while we're there to someone, and we can talk about it at a later date. I can't talk about it today, but I'm looking forward to that. And then, in the past at this event, I mean, one of the most enjoyable events we had a couple of years ago, the keynote was a fireside chat with Governors Doyle and Thompson, talking about state of healthcare. It was just entertaining, fun. They get along. I mean, they get along very well now. We get to learn a lot about what's going on in healthcare. And then we have about 1,000 people going over to the Capitol to talk to our legislators, our local legislators, about those issues affecting healthcare in Wisconsin. So pretty busy day for us all.
When you see Matt LaFleur, ask him where he thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to go. He's either the Steelers, the Vikings, or retirement, right? Where do you think he's going to land? As a Vikings fan, do you want him?
No.
That's the correct answer.
I would rather ride with McCarthy, take our chances, go find one of the backups that's left, the experienced backups. I don't want Aaron Rodgers is toxic. I don't want him, but
Yeah.
I'll ask him if he has an idea.
Yeah.
Quick story. My son got to, as a Delta pilot, he got to fly some of the Viking brass to the Super Bowl. And as he was standing there, he was Kevin O'Connell, and he tried to pick Kevin O'Connell, the head coach's brain, as to who would be our starting quarterback next year. And O'Connell's answer was something along the effects of, who knows? So he couldn't get insider information either. But I'll try with LaFleur. How's that?
Yeah, see if you can do that. And then give us an update when you come back.
I wish he'd go back to the Packers.
Oh, that'd be great. As a Bears fan, that would be wonderful. Absolutely
Or
love
it could be Caleb's backup in Chicago.
We won't need a backup. Thank you, Mike. Who? Larry. Wait, what? This whole time you didn't even know who we were talking to? Who? Oh, that's funny. Spooner Health CEO Mike Schafer was filling in for Fitzy. With that being said, for Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden, and you've been watching The Big Show, Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. With 20 years of experience, this locally owned and operated business provides quality work both on the inside and on the outside of your home or business. Like Fitzy and I, they believe it's the little things that make a big difference. Give them a call today, 715-520-2271. See what they can do for you. With that, we'll see all of you back here next week for another exciting episode and Fitzy's return for another Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy. So until then, thank you for watching, and as always, have a blessed day.